Having done the follow-up work to the last video, you now know what goal you will be working toward throughout this course. What we're going to talk about in this video is the mindset that it will take to help you achieve that goal. So here are the 7 core ideas of the verbal to visual mindset. That goal that you define for yourself, think of that as your compass. Your goal will be what guides much of your skill building and decision-making efforts that will come in future modules. That's a big picture idea, but when it comes to specific note-taking sessions, keep in mind the more focused idea of intent as a filter. Before any particular note-taking session, think about what you want to get out of that individual experience. That thing that you want to get out of it is your intent, and that's what will help you decide which ideas are worth getting down on the page and which you can let fly on by. These 2 ideas of goal as a compass and intent as a filter are very complementary. The first is from the zoomed out perspective of your overall goal, and the second is from the zoomed in look at a particular note-taking session and what you want to get out of it. To merge those 2 perspectives together, we've got the third core idea of the verbal to visual mindset: play the long game. This idea is about focusing on improvement over time. Through those individual sessions, you'll move closer and closer to your goal. So don't worry too much about how any particular note-taking session goes. Focus instead on improvement over time. Now, if you're worried about the number of skills that it takes to become proficient at this visual note-taking thing, then I have some good news for you in the form of the 50-50 rule. My perspective on doing this thing well is that only 50% of it is about having the right skills. The other 50% is about setting up the right constraints for yourself. That constraints part is about making a plan for yourself. It's about setting some bounds on a note-taking session so that the fear of the blank page doesn't get the best of you. That visual note-taking process that I mentioned in the last video will be nothing more than the set of constraints that you decide fit best for your situation. You will then apply your skills within those constraints whenever you put your visual note-taking process into use. One way to find the right combination of skills and constraints is by seeking flow, which is the next core idea here. Another way of describing flow is to be in the zone. That's when you're fully immersed in an experience, not self-conscious about your skills, not worried about how it looks, but fully engaged and attentive to the task at hand. And that type of flow is what you want to look for. In order to set up the right conditions for flow to occur, you'll need to be prepared to experiment with different methods. When you approach any visual note-taking session as an experiment, it helps you to focus on what you can learn from it so that the next time you can tweak the pieces a little bit. Maybe change the combination of skills and constraints until you find that right combo that leads to the sense of flow that you're looking for. If we take that idea of experimentation one step further, we get to the final component of the verbal to visual mindset. Break it down, then build it back up. This concept applies both to the skill development that we'll be focusing on in part 1, and also to the way you apply those skills in part 2. The way we'll approach skill building is by breaking visual note-taking down into those 4 core skills of text, layout, imagery, and color. After focusing in on one skill at a time, you will then build back up to your note-taking process. We'll also use this idea of break it down, then build it back up when putting the process itself into use. When you are taking visual notes, what you are doing is taking in a bunch of information, breaking that information down into chunks, and capturing those chunks in some sort of a visual way as you slowly build up an overall picture of that set of ideas. So these are the 7 core ideas of the verbal to visual mindset. Use your goal as a compass to guide your efforts over the long run. Use your intent as a filter when you dig into an individual note-taking session. Play the long game by focusing on improvement over time instead of any individual particular performance. Understand the 50-50 rule, that doing this thing well is just as much about the constraints you set up for yourself as it is about your current skill level. Seek flow as you look for the combination of skills and constraints that leads to a feeling of being in the zone while you work. Experiment with different tools and methods as you seek out that flow. And remember to first break things down and then build them back up, both when it comes to developing your note-taking skills and also when it comes to capturing the big picture of a set of ideas that you're working with. Your task in response to this video, as outlined in the activity below, is to do a bit of an observational experiment. I want you to take a mental step back the next time you're in that setting where you will be using your visual notes. I want you to try to observe that setting as an outsider. Look around, pay attention to what is going on, and start thinking about how you can apply these 7 core ideas to that particular setting. You'll find more details and prompts in that resource below, so give it a go and then check out the next video.